Rabat, the capital of Morocco and royal seat of power. The main residence of King Mohammed the Sixth is a fascinating modern metropolis. Along with its monumental works of art, the fourth oldest of the Makhzen cities is also one of Morocco's most important. Numerous gateways lead into the medina, and most of the streets pass through the old town. In earlier times, the medieval city walls of the medinas were to be seen throughout the country. Their chessboard-like ground plan features the typical structure of a Moroccan city. These splendid glass-roofed arcades follow a similar design to French galleries, and they transform a shopping trip into an architectural adventure. Straw roofs provide shade and add to the traditional atmosphere. And for those who fancy a bite to eat, there's a good selection of interesting cafes and tempting menus. For those who wish to experience typical Morocco, this is the place. The aromas and sounds of the narrow valleys are far more descriptive than any travel guide. Cafes and workshops reflect daily life, with constant hustle and bustle. Most of the souks are divided into specialized areas. Here there are leather goods, and next blankets and carpets are on sale. With a little haggling, it's possible to purchase quality handicrafts at a very modest price. Many a front entrance gives a good insight into its mysterious interior. Islamic houses usually have no or very few windows facing the street. Casbah des Oudayas was built by Yaqub al-Mansur in the 12th century. It's located at Rabat's most elevated point and is like a village within the city. The 8-meter-high wall once protected the Casbah and its inhabitants. Even today, the fortress is inhabited, and its ancient cannons are remnants of a dramatic past. The Bab des Udayas is a fine example of Almohades architecture. In spite of its huge dimensions, the gate is both elegant and beautifully proportioned due to its exquisite craftsmanship. The city's colourful and well-preserved houses are crammed close together. Workshops are situated next to small shops. Life within this famous fortress is like that of a living museum. A confusion of streets leads through this tiny autonomous district. Most of the houses are whitewashed, and covered with yellow and turquoise decorations. A splendid array of colour and tiles with geometrical patterns. This art of presentation is an age-old Moroccan tradition. Huge doors of both natural and painted wood are masterpieces of craftsmanship. Their striking designs are captivating for all who see them. Hidden in small alleys and beyond hidden doors are tiny palaces, and the external architecture gives no hint of what lies within. Barred windows create an Andalusian ambience. The Casbah is one of the most popular and most expensive addresses in Rabat. Throughout the centuries, the Moroccan coast was dominated by pirates, but the might of the European colonialists put an end to their dubious activities. The region's temperate climate is due to cool Atlantic breezes. It's as though the landscape has been painted. An endless sandy beach is popular with tourists from around the world. The Mausoleum of Mohammed V was built in 1967. This tomb complex contains a mosque, a mausoleum, and a small memorial that contains images of the king. There are guards on horseback and a large square. They wear old Maghrebian uniforms with generous breeches and sashes. The green rooftops of the city are in stark contrast to the light colours of the facades. Glazed white and green tiles shine brightly in the sunlight. The ceiling is a mass of golden illumination. A fascinating dome of skillfully crafted gilded mahogany extends above. This is the final resting place of Mohammed V. The sarcophagus was carved from a single block of white onyx. The impressive Hassan Tower was never fully completed. Rabat's famous landmark covers an area of 2.5 hectares. At the end of the 12th century, Yaqub al-Mansur constructed the largest mosque of the Maghreb. At a height of over 60 meters, its minaret was taller than any other in North Africa. 400 columns support the prayer room, and it has 14 gates. Although often plundered and damaged by earthquake, the beauty of this building can still be enjoyed today. Numerous quotations from the Quran are everywhere, including the walls. Rich ornamentation is one of the numerous components of Islamic architecture. During alterations to this large square, a well was introduced. The huge dimensions continue from the square in the direction of the new mosque. The interior of this room is full of light. Due to their modest furnishings, artistic presentation plays an important role in the general design of a mosque. In the Quran, water is highly symbolic. In paragraph 5, verse 7, it's written, "O you faithful, prior to prayer you must wash both face and hands." The elegant wells and their colourful mosaics are provided for ritual washing prior to prayer. Thus, a number of water basins are provided at each mosque. An eye for detail is everywhere. Exquisite decor and fine ornaments are in abundance from floor to ceiling, and filigree carvings of stone and stucco are as fine as lace. The Vietnamese architect Vo Tuan created the plans for this remarkable project, and this contemporary memorial is also open to non-Muslims. The spacious avenues contain a lot of traffic. In today's modern business districts, splendid shopping centres are situated next to cafes with elegant terraces and stylish restaurants. The Mosque es-Sunnah was constructed at the beginning of the 20th century and is a replica of the Qutubiyya Mosque in Marrakesh that was built by the Almohades in the 12th century. Glazed green roof tiles are a feature of both madrasas and mosques. The special roof construction reflects the sunlight to spectacular, glittering effect. This richly decorated, mighty front gate seems impenetrable. These buildings signify the ultimate authority of those who rule the country. The minaret towers up into the sky above Rabat. Its massive globes depict modesty and simplicity. Weighing several tons, they're often also gilded. Mosques are usually a fine place to witness the country's superlative craftsmanship. Even the side entrances are decorated, and most of the patterns are entirely original. The decorations have been created from strict geometrical motifs. The design elements are made from stucco and the wainscotings out of carved and painted cedar. From 1912 to 1956, Rabat was a French colony. Today, 500,000 people live in Morocco's capital city. The impressive Palais Royal is within the administrative district of Metre. The palace was built in 1864, and it has since been extended and enlarged. Gardeners are hard at work in front of the palace. Presentation is all. And everything in the administrative quarter is lush green and colourful blossom. This large complex contains palaces, ministries, administrative buildings, stables, and living quarters. The Royal Guards protect the entrance of the Palais Royal. The changing of the guards takes place at 2-hourly intervals and is always a popular spectacle. The beauty of this gate is just a hint of what lies beyond it. And there are guided tours throughout the palace complex. The city districts contain green areas and parks and avenues lined with palm trees. They also contain a number of eye-catching buildings. Moorish architecture originated from Muslim and Spanish tradition. It reached its zenith in Morocco during the rule of the Medinites. The buildings in Rabat cover all of Morocco's history. The Phoenicians and Carthaginians established trading posts here, and the Romans later established their southernmost colony. In the 8th century, an independent Berber state was established. It had an administrative system that was inspired by both the Quran and tradition. With the arrival of the Almohades in the 12th century, Rabat was completely transformed. However, shortly afterwards, the Portuguese plundered the capital. This mystical-looking building is constructed of loam. The mighty brown wall is flanked by 2 towers crowned with pinnacles. Chellah, the ancient fortress of the Carthaginians, has been uninhabited since 1154. Even 1,000 years earlier, it was a prosperous seaport. The fortress was built on the site of the Roman settlement of Chellah, a predecessor of Rabat. It was one of the last to dissolve its allegiance with the Roman Empire. journey leads past trees that appear as unearthly beings and beneath tiny, hidden bridges. Today, this former fortress is a tranquil botanical garden. Huge cacti line these historical paths. And there are also ancient fig trees, various oriental bushes, and poisonous thorn apples. Within these Islamic ruins, a tiled minaret now serves as a stork's nest. These birds are revered in Morocco because their nesting places on the minarets are thought to bring good luck. The ground plan of the complex is surprisingly compact. The thick walls and towers of the city ruins give the impression of covering a much larger area. Legend has it that the Prophet Muhammad once prayed here, so the fortress attracts many believers. The overgrown walls are evidence of a moving past, and it doesn't take much imagination to envisage life as it once was. This ancient cistern still contains water. A public water supply was vital, and wells featured just as much as public bathing facilities. Passing along the remaining walls, it's still possible to pick out the most important elements of the settlement: its ancient streets, dwellings, and arcades. Only the foundations of the madrasa have survived, but this mighty wooden gate has withstood not only the climate, but also several hostile attacks. The remains of this mosque and its prayer niche provide a good impression of the splendid architecture that was once created here in all its glory. Because religion and government were inseparable during the early days of Islam, the mosques served not only as places of prayer, but also for political meetings. Muslims pray 5 times a day in the direction of Mecca. Therefore, the non-conformist alignment of this mosque in a southeasterly direction is a complete mystery. Under the Almohades, this place was once used as a royal grave. The necropolis contains the graves of Abu al-Hassan and his wife Shams ad-Duna. The graves are located at the rear of the mosque. Lying on their right-hand side, the deceased were buried in white clothing, their bodies facing Mecca. Rabat, a fascinating capital and royal residence, an exotic world that lies between both Occident and Orient.